The landscape changes 6 days before Super Tuesday. John Edwards ends his Democratic presidential bid, where he began it in New Orleans. And just hours from now, we're expecting Rudy Giuliani to exit the GOP race and endorse rival John McCain. We have a lot to talk about. Joining me now is CNN political editor, Mr. Mark Preston. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Conservative commentator Michelle Bernard. And from the advocacy group Independent Women's Voice, that's where she's from. And radio talk show host Mr. Carl Jeffers. He is a friend of the CNN Newsroom. He's here a lot, a contributor to the Seattle Times. Thanks to all of you. Good to see all of you. Okay, so John Edwards drops out today. It has been sort of the endorsement battle. Who's going to get this endorsement? Who's going to get that endorsement? Our CNN person, I want to ask you this, Mark. Is this the endorsement that could tip the scale, depending on who John Edwards endorses?
You know, I'm not sure if it will tip the scales necessarily, Don, but it would certainly, it's sought out. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama have both been trying to reach out to John Edwards, trying to get him to come to his side. He certainly has a lot of supporters out there. And in fact, last week, Don, in Myrtle Beach, after the CNN Congressional Black Caucus debate, Hillary Clinton, John Edwards had a private conversation backstage, and it wasn't just a passing hello. So this has been going on, I think, for a couple of weeks.
Okay, Michelle. Yeah. Let me ask you this. John Edwards would joke about it on the campaign trail, in the debates. He goes, you know what, I'm the good-looking white guy in all of this. You know, he's running against, seriously, talking to people here, and he said, who would have thought that, you know, a black man and a woman, how could John Edwards compete against that?
Well, you know, actually, normally the question is, how could a black man and a woman compete against John Edwards? So the tides have turned. It's really interesting because I think what we're going to see is that there are a lot of white males throughout the United States who are saying, hey, what about us? Please pay attention to us, because we keep hearing about the African-American vote. We keep hearing about the women's vote, and there are a lot of just white males out there, or men in period, men out there, period, who are hoping that we're going to be paying attention to their vote as well. An endorsement by Senator Edwards is going to be really important because, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if white male voters will be alienated and are more likely to vote for Hillary Clinton rather than Barack Obama, or if his very loyal supporters will look at Hillary Clinton as the old and will be craving the type of change that Senator Obama has been speaking about and decide to throw their hat in the ring with Obama.
I want to get to Carl Jefferson just a second here, but I want to ask, I want to go back to Mark real quick and ask about this. You heard from our producer there, Dougal, who has been following the campaign. John Edwards has said it himself. He doesn't feel that he gets nearly the media coverage that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton do. He feels that the media in some way has a love affair with those two candidates, and he's being left out. Do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, this is an interesting election year, Don. I mean, look, we really have, you know, the first real viable woman candidate who has a good shot of winning the Democratic nomination, moving on to the White House. And the same thing with Barack Obama, you know, a real viable African-American male who can go on and perhaps win the White House. I think that's really tough to overcome, and I think that's what John Edwards was talking about.
It's uncharted territory.
The media was really focusing on. Well, it's such an interesting story. Barack Obama has a fascinating story to tell, as does Hillary Clinton. So I think that was difficult for John Edwards to overcome.
All right, let's get to Carl Jeffers now. Carl, I got a very interesting note about from you. We were talking about endorsements the other day, and the Kennedys endorsing Barack Obama, and this whole fight over who's going to get which endorsement here. And then we talked about the California Congresswoman endorsing Hillary Clinton. You find that more interesting that Maxine Waters would endorse Hillary Clinton than you find Ted Kennedy endorsing Barack Obama?
Well, I think, Don, and it's great to be here with you again, that the interesting thing about it is that, in fact, as Ted Kennedy represents the Democratic establishment in America, certainly the old lion of the liberal tradition, the white Democratic establishment in America seemingly is edging towards Barack Obama. But the reality is right now, in terms of a nose count, the majority, not by many, but by a few, the majority of the Congressional Black Caucus is lined up so far with Hillary Clinton. And that's a very interesting dynamic that most of America is not aware of. And the Maxine Waters endorsement dramatizes the fact that among black establishment political figures in America, among black business leaders in America who are Democratic versus some who are more conservative, that there is a very strong resonance with Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
And I would go back to your other point. The media certainly hasn't demonstrated any love affair with Hillary Clinton.
Carl, we've got to move on because I want to talk about the Republicans here, because Rudy Giuliani obviously dropping out of the race as well, but he is making his endorsement known. He's saying he's going to back John McCain in this. But both of these guys, especially when it comes to the Republican Party, they're really not the Republican Party's poster boys, are they? And, I mean, who would have thunk this? I mean, John McCain's struggling here.
Well, you know, John McCain comes out of Florida as the front runner in the Republican primary, and yet he's got problems raising money and has to use his win in Florida to try to raise money to get into Super Tuesday. Mitt Romney comes out of Florida number 2, but he still has the money to immediately start campaigning, and because he did not pick and choose which primaries to